Okay. Okay, thanks, Catherine. Okay, we're live again now. Welcome back, everybody, and to anybody who's logged back in. Apologies for the few technical issues that we've had today. Hopefully we're all fixed now. So we're moving on to item 6.4, CEO's KPIs outcome 2025 to 26. Recommendation being that council note the outcome for the Chief Executive Officer's key performance indicators for the financial year ended 30th of June 2026. Okay, so Simon, do you want to speak to anything there before I ask for questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing, obviously, it's in the report, but I would highlight that the financials. I mean, I was in two minds whether to bring this to you now or wait, but it just seemed because they wouldn't be available until September. That's when the wash-ups will be done through the financials, because we still have invoices to process and so on. So in terms of the end of year wash-up, it just felt right to bring this to you now, given the majority of these are, apart from the financials, are here. So that's why it is what it is. Yeah, apart from that, happy to take questions about the report.
Thank you. Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thanks, Simon. Look, it's just, and it goes back to my reason that I would not vote in favour of receiving the annual report for 24-25. And I note that within your performance there, audit management reports will be requested at the end of the audit of the annual report for 2025, which is the one that we consider today. So my question is, have you received that report? If not, you will be requesting it. Any idea about how long it takes to receive that report? And it doesn't specify in here, but I assume that will be shared amongst us at this table once it's received.
So through the chair, yeah, that's correct. I mean, we obviously have this logjam, which goes back to the 23 report, which predates our time. But the 23 report started these issues, and they've cascaded from here. So we've ended up going down to the wire every time. So we haven't had a full audit report as you're used to. But the full report that we would get from EY would be coming back. Probably would it come to the council to risk and audit?
Generally, it should go to the risk and assurance, risk and audit. Sorry,
but it would be available to the rest of the.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
You will get the agendas.
Yeah. Yes, it would be.
Councillor Webb.
Just a general question, I guess. What are the consequences if the key KPIs aren't met? Like if we're setting these KPIs, and like, what's the point if there are no, there's no consequence? So what's the point?
I think if I can step in there, Simon, there's a panel of 3, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Hinkson and myself are on the Chief Executive's Performance and Remuneration Review Committee. We have kicked that process off, and we will be coming back to council to discuss that, and obviously what comes out of that, which you will contribute into, will be brought back to council.
So my question is there a consequence if a KPI isn't met?
That's what we would have to decide as council.
Okay.
Councillor Sampson, then Councillor O'Keefe.
Page 270, number 21, staff satisfaction. You've got a report that's gone through and you're waiting for that to come back. Will we get the results of when it's compiled, please?
So, sorry. Was there another question? Sorry. Did you have another question, or was that? You finished the question. Sorry.
Yeah, and it was on page 275.
So can we take your first question?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So, so we've done the survey. So we had a really good response. It was encouraging to see such a positive response rate, 79%, which isn't bad. So we work internally on those. On the feedback from that, it was quite a light touch this time. We didn't do a full engagement survey, but it did highlight a number of issues which I want to bring back to council as part of LTP, because there are some concerns in there around remuneration, and further into the public forum today around staffing numbers and workloads on staff. So I will be bringing that back as part of our workshop through LTP. But yeah, it was a great result, and it's from here. The thing that we're doing as a senior leadership team is working through all of that survey feedback with our teams, and so we've got this culture and engagement group which helps tease out for each group what matters to them, so that we can improve that staff engagement ongoing. But yeah, we'll be coming back to you as part of the LTP with some suggestions around addressing some of those issues that came up as poor results in the staff survey, and how we might address that.
Okay, so just coming back to Rosie's question, so councillors will get to see that final. I know you're working through things.
So there will be something we'll share with you as part of our LTP process. I don't know the exact how we'll do that, but we've talked internally about how we might share that with councillors, because it does highlight some issues which you need to be aware of.
Thank you. Rosa, do you have a second question?
No, it's the next item.
Okay, let's make sure I was Councillor O'Keefe and then Councillor Reynolds.
I'd like to move draft recommendation 1.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Okay, we'll give it to Councillor Curnow this time. Thank you, and we're into discussion. Oh,
I was just wondering what the KPIs over an annual period, of course. What's the between what month and what month? What's the beginning of term, end of term?
So these are the financial year ones, councillor. So they do. There will be some which are ongoing. So some of those are in process, but 30 June is when the work is completed. So I've noted those in here where possible. But this is a financial year.
For the 30th of June 2026.
Yeah.
Okay.
The year just passed.
Yeah. Good.
thank you. Is there any further discussion? No, put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Okay, thank you. That's passed. Okay, agenda item 6.5, Buller Holdings Limited Strategic Review. The recommendation being that council defers the strategic review of Buller Holdings Limited, which, as you will have noted in Simon's KPIs, was a KPI. Simon, if you'd speak to that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as we talked about earlier today, there is a significant amount of change and reform going on. And when we set this KPI at the start of the last financial year, we hadn't anticipated the amount. We knew that reform was likely to happen, but not the speed or the volume of change that we expected. So we did have a conversation with PwC about what they could do, and they've come up with a sort of a phased approach. Given where the Head Start proposal is aiming, then obviously we would need to consider the other CCOs on the coast and what that might mean for our CCO. We do believe it's an opportunity for West Street in terms of the Three Waters changes, formation of Coast Waters, but also within any new entity, there's an opportunity there. But we do need to do a lot of work. That work, in my view, could be funded through MCERT, because as we've said through our Head Start proposal, that work we can't afford to do ourselves. This is a really good example of a project which we think, as part of our transition into a new entity, potentially could be funded by external resources, because it does need to be examined, as with all of our streams of our business. How does this fit? in the wider governance landscape that's been, that's the new reform. So hence my suggestion, we defer this at this stage.
Simon, if I could just ask you, are there any risks to whether it be governance, performance or accountability issues? Are there any risk to us deferring it?
I think those, if there are governance performance issues or there are things that you want to address, you could do those now, because you do have that mechanism. Obviously, the performance is monitored through RAC, and if there are issues that come up through that, that's something that you can address. We have those regular meetings with the board. We've got one coming up next week, I believe. So that would be a mechanism to do that. This, what was originally scoped, was quite a broader review. From quite a grassroots review up. That would be, as I said, part of the mechanism when you do that as part of a wider governance review of the coast. But I don't think there's any major risks at this stage with deferring. And if there are issues, deal with it through that other process.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
I've got a question. I wonder whether it's worth us completing this basic review because we're going into Head Start. Well, I'm not saying we're not going into Head Start, sorry, because that's on the horizon and actually we may not go into it. And is it worth just doing this little bit of initial scoping and understanding the current state for us? You know, what was the budget for it, Simon?
It was actually unbudgeted. We just do it within the normal consultancy.
Sorry,
So,
what have they said it would cost?
7,000 to 12,000. So it's not a huge amount.
That's
And
what I'm
would-
thinking. Is it worth us actually getting this done so that we have an understanding of where we sit right now for that amount of money? I don't know. Like it's because you know Head Start may or may not happen, and is this the beginning of a process that we should be kind of going through anyway?
Well, I'm just, if I can just ask, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I sort of struggle with the thought that we don't currently know where we're at.
But to add to that, I mean, I suppose if you wish, if we don't sign up to Head Start, you could still undertake this work this year. You could still do that. And that's why, I mean, I did tease out in the options here, the fact that you could do that work anyway. You could still choose to do it because there are benefits in actually knowing, you know, doing a review of what you've got in-house at the moment, how it currently functions. So when you get to the negotiation table, you've actually got that information to hand.
Documented.
It's all documented. So there is certainly a plus to doing that. But when I was tossing it up in terms of pros and cons, and given the workload, I suppose that was the other thing that was on my mind around, you know, why don't we just wrap this up? If we are going to Head Start process, wrap it up as part of that. But look, it's I don't know, it's finely balanced. It's up for council to decide what the best option might be.
Okay, any further, Councillor Evans?
Yeah, other things come along, as Councillor Berry pointed out. Strategic review, there's a strategic relocation plan for West Reef. They've outgrown their current position. I would see that too as being a decision to delay until they are established on the new site and then have the strategic review.
That's 2 years down the track, isn't it?
Through the chair, I mean, that decision is, they've now embarked on that. So it's a little bit outside the scope of what we're talking about here. And I know they are very aware of it, but I would suggest that they have a robust reason for doing that piece of work. Their location in the town is just not suitable. So they do need to address that urgently, I would suggest, but I think it's outside the scope of what we're talking here.
Discussion.
Okay.
Discussion. Councillor Horn.
We haven't got this.
Wow.
No, sorry, I apologise. You may ask a question.
Well, I was going to go into discussion. But are you going to move into discussion?
Carry on, Dave.
Not this one.
So just that I feel that it is probably something that we need to put some scope around, I think, in terms of for ourselves as councillors to get our heads around the implications that may pop out of council restructure, what potential outcomes might occur. We need to probably have some some reasonable, information under our belt, but we haven't identified it yet. So what I'm thinking is that we need to develop a scope of what we would push to find out, rather than initiate a review with somebody without actually having a scope, because the scope we're looking at is quite different now that we're under amalgamation, potential amalgamation, government restructure. So I think that that what should come out of this is that we need to develop an understanding of what we don't know and what we need to know to help us with the process.
So in terms of the recommendation being that council prefers, not cancels, but prefers to get our heads around that process is what you're saying. Okay. Okay, any further questions? Okay, I'm happy to move. Council defers the strategic review of Bull Holdings Limited. Do I have a seconder for that? Oh, sorry, Tony. Well, I thought you had too.
Last one. Yeah, you moved the last one.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Right, so
seconded by councillor O'Keefe. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Thanks, that's carried unanimously. Okay, 6.6, Risk and Audit Committee Terms of Reference. Okay, the draft recommendation being that council approves the addition of councillor Dave Hawes to the Risk and Audit Committee and Audit Committee Terms of Reference. Are there any questions? No. Do I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor, seconded councillor Reynolds. Is there any further discussion? All those in Linda, do you something?
I'll just say I am voting against this, not because I don't want Dave on there, but I'm fundamentally against the reduction of the RIC committee. So that's why I will be voting against.
Having said that, yeah, no, that's fine. So I'll put it to the vote if there's no more discussion. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. Okay,
Councillor Sampson, did you want your name recorded?
yeah, go on. Okay, agenda item 7.1, Mayor's Monthly Update Report. Happy to take any questions. In full disclosure, I've had some feedback from one councillor with some suggestions on how that might be improved. I'm always happy to receive that. As I said, each month that it's work in progress. So you'll find some changes next month that I hope will make it a little bit more refined. Let's use that word, Dave, without saying who the feedback was from. Councillor O'Keefe.
I'd like to move 1 and 2.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconder Dave Hawes. Any further discussion? Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Seen number 2's also been moved. Then I would like to have a discussion on number 2.
Yep.
And specifically in relation to a letter received from Naitahu. I found it a very interesting read. And I thought it could give us some direction in terms of the proposed realignment of local government. And I thought it builds a very strong case for a South Island unitary council, or if not total South Island, at least for the Robbie of Naitahu, which would be almost all of the South Island. Has anyone, have you or had any discussion with the writer of this letter?
No, I haven't.
Just saying. Well, no one else seems to, but maybe no one else has read the letter.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we at then?
So, thanks, Mr. Mayor, because I've raised it, I'm going to suggest that because at some point I take it you'll be responding to this correspondence. Depending on the outcome of next Monday's morning, there may be an opportunity to reopen talks with Ngāi Tahu about other potential new governance structures. Just saying.
I'll note that, thank you. Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Are we on discussion? Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, just on that, it gets complicated though, doesn't it? Because our catchment, we still have this Ngāti Apa thing. No, I shouldn't say thing. Ngāti Apa interest in our catchment. So this, it worries me that it then becomes a battle between iwi and we lose some focus on community.
I think, you know, Phil's raised it as a point that, you will note that, and, I think depending on the outcome from Monday, come back and take that into consideration if that's what people wish, Phil.
Yeah, so look, obviously I'm only raising it because regardless of the Ngāti Apa involvement, and obviously we're right to give some consideration, the reality is, and under the legal terms for the settlement of Waitangi, that we are part of Ngāi Tahu Rovi right up to Kārangi Point, whether Ngāti Apa like it or not. That's a fact. It's not in dispute.
Yes.
There is an MOU signed with Ngāti Apa though, that has been signed by Ngāti Waiwa.
Yeah.
Can I just mention another letter too, the letter that came from Minister Watts around climate change? I did notice, I don't know if everyone read the LGNZ reply to that letter, which was quite a good reply, and it picked up on a lot of the points that our staff had mentioned as well around the need for consistent messaging around the hazard, what is it called, SSP 5 to 8.5, and actually the exposure to litigation that council's experienced by the changes and, well, you know, the lack of consistency. So it was quite a good letter that LGNZ sent in reply to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind circulating that, those who might not have
Well,
seen
if you
it?
just go onto the LGN site, it's right on the front page of it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Shane. Okay, any further discussion? We have a mover and a seconder, don't we? Just checking. It's getting late. Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Thanks, that's passed. Item 8.1, Chief Executive Officer's report, with the Chief Executive Officer's report dated 29th January 2026 being received. Simon, are you happy to take questions, or would you like to add anything to that?
Yes.
Okay, any questions for Simon? No. Somebody happy to move? Councillor.
Not specifically for, well, I guess it is to Simon, the alternate Simon, given that it's included. Yeah. So I do have a couple of questions in the compliance part of your report, Simon. Two quick ones. I see that a member of staff has completed the Making Good Decision course. Can I have a quick update on why that would be happening and what the intent in terms of having staff passing or attending these courses is? That's question one.
So Gina is our one of our senior planners within the regulatory team. It helps her understand the full breadth of the RMA process, from hearings through decision-making processes.
So there is no intent that these people will in turn sit on hearings?
No.
Thank you. Second question, and it's related to numbers and specifically, I'm going to refer to the liquor licensing thing. It seems in the graphs that we have a repeat graph. Two graphs that are exactly identical, whereas in the past, in the past, we've had one graph showing licenses under consideration and then license issued. This one, we've just got two graphs showing license issued, and Sorry, I didn't.
Sorry, title.
Yeah, so what this means, it's lacking information for the rest of our councillors in terms of what might be out there outstanding. And we have some comment maybe about.
Yeah, that is definitely an error. It's a copy of the same graph, so sorry, but I will send out to councillors the other graph that goes with this report.
Councillor Wood.
It might be helpful on that too, to have a time frame on those. Like, have we got licenses outstanding that have been in process for over 6 months?
Yeah.
That would be helpful, that the council understands how many applications have been sitting there since perhaps last year.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, so the recommendation. Chief Executive Officer report 29th July 26 be received. We have a mover for that. Councillor Reynolds, seconded by the Mayor. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thank you, that's carried. Item 9.1 on the agenda, elected member update. Draft recommendation that the elected member update dated, a report dated 29th July 26 be received. Are there any questions surrounding that update? No questions. I'm happy to move that the recommendation be received. Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'Keefe. Any discussion? Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks. And I guess the discussion is in relation to a particular report provided by Deputy Shane. Really interesting to read your update on the Carnegie Library. And am I right in thinking that this meeting you attended is by a completely new group as opposed to the group that previously existed to consider the future of that building?
No, well, it isn't, and I might just leave it to Councillor Rosalie because she's been working with that group, so I just went to the one meeting, but Rosalie's been going to lots of meetings with them.
It is the same group, and they've sort of got everything back together again after having hiccups along the way to different issues, and again being turned down for the initial funding round, and now they're on track to get to do a business case and get like the facade of the building and put some information up the windows so that people see that they're on track again. So no, that was one that the meeting was to invite the community members to see of the interest from the community that would be using it. So that's what that meeting was that Shane went to.
So the intention is, Rosalie, that they'll do that business case and reapply for some funding from somebody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Great. Any further questions? That's good. Could I have a mover for that? Elected member update report 29th July 26 be received. Shane.
I just, but I just have a comment around the WEN opening, the Westport Enterprise Network opening. Like, I just want to make a comment that it was a really good night, that there were 80 people there around about, but the number of businesses represented was really well. It was really diverse, a lot of businesses, and the presentation by Ali Kochi, I think her name is, from the Chamber of Commerce in Nelson was really well received. So just to the organisers of that, the group that put it together, it was a really good night, and I think they'll do some good things in the future, and I will work with council quite well on a lot of things, you know, policies, just the spatial plan. It's just another good group to have out there to feed information back into council. So yeah.
Right. And a shout out to staff and those from council who attended too. I thought it was a council meeting when I first walked through the door. So that was a good turnout. Thanks for that. So we've got a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's carried. Okay, that brings us to item 10, public excluded. Oh, sorry, Phil. Oh, public forums. Yep. Okay, so we'll go to, thanks for that, Phil. So we'll go to Mr. Smith. And there are a number of, or a couple of things there, focusing on, I guess, staff at the port, previous staffing of the port, and the dredge. Has anybody got any thoughts? Phil?
Yeah, very clearly. I don't think any of the questions he asked of us can be right and properly addressed. A lot of it was information that I assume is a certain level of confidentiality around it. I don't know why we would be saying what we pay different staff members for different roles. I was totally confused by what he was seeking from us. So I think personally the response should be, you know, he will be like all the other, our community will be aware of the outcome of our next discussion item in due course. It may answer some of his questions on.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Just a question on role, which is role. Sorry, that well, Dominic is leaving, so we are appointing a port.
Which has been appointed.
So we have appointed a port manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the new role is the new port manager's previous role, which is a part-time role.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's clarified there. Just want to make, I mean, the comment was made, is their role clear and their job on what they're doing? And I would assume that any role council puts forward has clear.
Yes, it is.
And even more so now that we have a harbour master, a regional harbour master, you would imagine that role would have to be very clear.
Yes.
So that they work together well.
Yes.
Well, given I know a little bit about seafaring stuff, I had a look at the job description, and it's the sort of thing that does take a bit of time and detail to get through, and it's stuff that has to be done rather than, you know, you would like to do it. So there's legislative stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I was satisfied what it's worth. Oh,
Just on that point, so we had 3 in the port.
three.
3, which would be Dominic, Penny Bell, and there's another employee there.
Steve Christians.
No, it's another one, isn't it?
Through the chair, can I just, it's not appropriate to be discussing staffing structures in a public meeting, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks, Simon.
The question is, are we increasing staff, seeing we're losing one to the
No,
regional council?
no, we're not.
Won't we then have an extra person doing the work,
No,
but only
there's no
the same
increase
number
in
on
staff.
the council payroll?
No increase in staff.
And the second question would be, not increasing staff, but increasing the number of individuals doing the same amount of work, and that one won't be on council's.
I've got to defer back to Simon's comment on that. That's an operational matter.
Okay, and the other point is the one role's only for 2.5 years. So is it a temporary position we've created for port manager with that person that's coming back in again after 2.5 years?
My response to that would be, we don't know that it's going to be 2.5 years. You know, we've got that process to, you know, work through. We haven't even decided whether we're in or out of Head Start yet. So, you know, with maritime matters, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know and see needs to be done. And if it's not done, you know, it can cause some real issues if there's an incident, from my experience. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I don't, you know, we shouldn't be moving into a discussion from a public forum perspective, because I write down every question that's asked from every person that, because it's part of our analysis of what we're trying to reply to. And unfortunately, throughout all the time that Kevin spoke, I couldn't write down a question. There was no question. This was a rant about whatever was perceived to be happening down there. And unfortunately, trying to delve questions out of that morass leaves you floundering around in the position we are now, where we're discussing things that are staff issues. So,
Thanks for that. Okay, are there any further comments? Councillor Webb?
I guess what I got out for that is that they're in reading things, you know, in the community that, you know, people do have questions about the dredge and the contracts and that, so maybe it would be smart to have a possibly after today's public excluded, but, you know, to wrap it up in saying, you know, this is, you know, a summary of what's happened with the dredge sort of thing, because people are saying, well, you know, there's lots of questions out there, and I don't know if they've been legitimate or not, whether these his questions, but, you know, about contracts, etc., etc. But obviously there's some confusion in the community, so after the public excluded, possibly a summary you know, saying, you know, this is the facts of what's happened. But yeah.
Thanks, Linda. No, good. Paul?
Yeah, I derived that his question was, he didn't know who the port manager was after he mentioned one name, Rudy Apples. So perhaps he could be given the list of the continuity, who the port managers were.
Yeah, my view on that is that's, again, an operational issue that Simon and staff can respond to if the request has been made.
Kevin has questions, he can come through Leslie. If there's a question about the port, but we're not giving out staff names. In that form, it's just not appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. So if we had a move second for that. Public forums, okay, what's the time? Because I didn't finish by 5:30. No. Okay, Adriana had some more specific questions, but just to give us the background, Adriana has put in a Lagoima request, basically asking for that information that she asked for today, for some more explanation around all of that. I'm not sure that until that information is available, I can say any more. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can say that she asked a question specifically of us in terms of what do we as a council have into staff role and salaries? And the answer to that, of course, is that we have no direct input, but we do have input in the fact that we approve the annual budget, which that annual budget allows for doing the work that's been identified. And as part of what we just discussed earlier on, we set a set of KPIs around our chief executive officer, and he is to deliver the work that we've decided, and he is to staff it appropriately to get that work done, and he's to provide the budget to and manage that budget to achieve the work that we've asked to be done within the annual plan. That's the response that should be there.
And I think when it comes to salaries and that type of thing, I can respond along the lines that these salary levels are not pulled out of thin air. And I'm not sure who asked the question, it might have been Phil, but yeah, comparisons are made around the country, depending on the level of responsibility, even where people live, whether it's Auckland or whether it's Westport. Those things are taken into consideration when the job is actually scoped, and then salaries are applied to where it ends up. I'd be surprised, well, I'm sure that BDC has got those processes in place.
Just for clarity, Mr. Mayor, I didn't ask that question. I asked whether she'd done comparative staffing numbers for, organisations.
Well, I guess the same applies to a certain extent. Yeah, thanks for that, Phil. Jane?
Can we just, I don't know what Adriana has employed, but her numbers of FTE staff were incorrect. So if we are replying, it would be good to just let her know how many FTE staff we do have here, because we don't have 103.
No.
And just around, this is just a general comment really around salaries, is that actually sometimes we find it hard to attract staff because we are below some of the salary brackets of larger councils, which does make it hard to attract staff here and to retain staff.
Thanks.
There was one further thing around that, of course, is that she did identify that we'd had 27 staff positions advertised, and I believe the narrative around that, of course, is that if you're losing staff, there's a reason. It's either too much pressure in the workplace, which I clearly think we'll see when it comes out in the staff survey, or the remuneration isn't commensurate with the work that's required.
Thanks, Bill.
Just a point of clarify, to completely clarify that, I think she was conflating some other job advertisements for roles that aren't actually BDC roles. And she mentioned specifically about local water done well. So I think there's a bit of a conflating there that not fully understood.
Likewise with Fuller Holdings.
Sometimes as well, just like as well, those we do have to re-advertise and re-advertise and re-advertise. I mean, there's roles we've advertised 2 or 3 times and not be able to attract anyone. So it does. It's a complex situation.
Okay, so once Simon's got that that information available, Simon and I'll work up a suitable response for that. Okay, thank you, everybody. No further discussion on that? No? Okay. I'll pass it on so I can see what we're doing next. Okay, we're going to move into agenda item 10, public excluded reports. I'll read the whole thing out. The draft recommendation being that the meeting be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting. Agenda item 10.1, disposal options for Kawatiri Dredge, prepared by Leslie Crichton, reasons for confidentiality, Lagoma section 7, subject to section 6, 8 and 17. This section applies if and only if the withholding of information is necessary to enable any local authority holding the information to carry out without prejudice or disadvantage commercial activities or what's happening here, Caitlin? Okay. I thought there was a bit more coming. Okay, so there are the recommendations. Are there any questions of Simon? Okay. Somebody happy to move that? Deputy Mayor, seconder. Councillor Halls, any further discussion?
Speak against it. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Dr. By nose.
Oh,
okay.
I'm going to speak against it. This is a matter of where there's high public interest, and I'm actually not persuaded that there are commercial reasons that would necessarily require us to go behind closed doors.
Thanks, Ray. Phil?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I didn't see my old mate up there, my bridge playing mate. I had no idea he was going to come up with that because I don't have line of sight with him. But I was going to say exactly the same thing. Call me naive if you like. I don't see anything in this report that is so sensitive in terms of commercial activities that it should be, the public should be excluded. So I will also be voting against.
Okay, thank you. I'll be voting for on the grounds that the report does contain commercially sensitive material from, in my opinion. And for that matter, in addition, it clearly states that after we've had the discussions and reached the decision that we can make general information available to the public, at which time I would expect that any questions that arise, we can respond to them. But there is information in that report that is commercially sensitive. Any further questions? Okay, we have a mover. Did we have a mover for that? Any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Carried.
Everybody wants their name recorded,
Okay, we'll take a 10-minute adjournment while Caitlin does that.
but that is carried.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Great.